New York City never truly sleeps. It only pauses to blink. The nights breathe with the rhythm of headlights and the hum of distant sirens, and the days roar with impatient footsteps, honking taxis, and the constant grind of ambition. Somewhere in the middle of this restless heartbeat, down in the tunnels where the city's pulse thumps the loudest, lived a woman who had almost disappeared from the world she once believed she would conquer. Her name was Ava Thompson. Ava wasn't the kind of homeless person people imagined when they heard the word. She didn't look broken. She didn't look damaged. Instead, she looked like someone who had stepped out of a dream but forgotten her way back. Her hair was long, caramel brown, always tied in a loose braid because the subway wind tangled it too easily. Her eyes were a soft hazel, gentle but hiding miles of pain, and her voice, well, her voice was something the world had not heard enough of. Every morning, Ava sat at the far end of the 42nd Street, Times Square, subway station, the one corner where the acoustics made her guitar vibrate beautifully against the coal tiles. She would tune her beaten-up acoustic guitar, an old Martin model her father had bought her when she was 14, and play songs that didn't belong in the underground, songs that felt too soulful, too pure, too raw. Some people stopped, some ignored her, some pretended to be listening but were only waiting for their train. Still, Ava played like someone who had nothing else left in the world, and perhaps that was the truth. Before New York swallowed her whole, Ava wasn't homeless. 5 years ago, she arrived in NYC with 2 suitcases, a scholarship to a music academy, and a heart pump full of impossible dreams. Growing up in a small Oregon town, she had always believed music was her calling, not fame, not spotlight, just music itself. Her mother used to say, "Ava, you don't sing songs, you sing stories." She carried that with her like a compass. But dreams are fragile things, and New York is not kind to the fragile. In her second year in the city, Ava lost her mother to a sudden stroke. The grief cracked something inside her. She started missing classes, her scholarships slipped through her fingers, the rent became too heavy to handle. Part-time jobs weren't enough. Friends drifted away, not out of cruelty, but because life in New York makes everyone move fast. One day, she found herself standing on the sidewalk with all her belongings stuffed in 2 bags and nowhere to go. She spent 3 nights sleeping near Bryant Park before the police moved her along. Eventually, she ended up wandering into the subway, where the constant stream of strangers made her feel invisible enough to hide, but safe enough to breathe. That's where she learned that music wasn't just her dream, it was her survival. So Ava became the subway musician people passed without knowing her story. But life has an odd way of shifting when you least expect it. One cold December morning, the station was unusually quiet. The city above was dusted with the season's first snowfall. Ava pulled her coat tighter, its zipper broken, sleeves worn, and rubbed her hands together before warming them with her breath. Her guitar strings were stiff from the cold, but she began to play anyway. A slow, soulful melody drifted across the platform, floating like a memory in the dim space. She started singing a song she wrote for her mother. "If I wander too far, will I still find you? If the world grows dark, will your light shine through?" Her voice trembled, but didn't break. As the last note echoed, she noticed someone standing a few feet away, a woman in her early 40s, wearing a long beige coat, holding coffee and a leather folder. She had been listening, truly listening. "That was beautiful," the woman said, her voice soft but carrying authority. Ava nodded politely, used to compliments that never changed her life. "Thank you," she murmured. "Did you write that?" "Yes." The woman smiled. "I'm Rebecca Miles, by the way. I work for, well, a music label." Ava's breath caught. Not because she suddenly imagined being discovered, but because she had stopped believing that people like this even existed in her world anymore. "What's your name?"
Rebecca asked. Ava. Ava, I don't make promises easily, but you have something rare. She reached into her bag, pulled out a business card, and gently set it inside Ava's guitar case, the same case that usually collected only a few dollars and spare change. Ava stared at the card, almost afraid to touch it. Why me? She whispered. Rebecca's smile softened. Because I heard honesty in your voice. You can't fake that. Then she walked away, disappearing into the crowd just as the next train screeched in. That night, Ava didn't sleep. She sat on an empty subway bench, staring at the business card as if it might vanish. Hope was a dangerous thing to someone who had lost so much. What if it was a scam? What if it led nowhere? What if she showed up and they laughed at her? But the deeper fear was the possibility that it could be real. For the first time in years, Ava allowed herself to imagine a version of her life where she wasn't invisible. By sunrise, she made her decision. 2 days later, Ava stood outside a sleek building in Manhattan. Her heart hammered as she walked into the lobby, her guitar strapped over her shoulder. She felt out of place. People there wore expensive coats, shiny shoes, and confidence like armor. But she reminded herself, I belong anywhere my music belongs. She took the elevator to the 12th floor. Rebecca greeted her with a warm smile and guided her into a studio room with soundproof walls and a single microphone. Whenever you're ready, Rebecca said. Ava stepped up to the mic. Her hands trembled, but when she played the first chord, something inside her aligned. She closed her eyes and let the music pour out. Her childhood, her pain, her mother's memory, her silent nights in the subway tunnels. When she finished, Rebecca nodded slowly, almost in disbelief. Ava, you're extraordinary. For the first time in a long time, Ava felt tears rise. Not from sorrow, but from being seen. Weeks passed, and Ava found herself recording more demos, working with small producers, slowly piecing her life back together. Rebecca helped her find temporary housing. Ava got a part-time job as a barista. She still played in the subway sometimes, not out of necessity anymore, but because the tunnels had become part of her story. They had held her when she had nothing else. But fate wasn't done with her yet. One evening, after finishing a studio session, Rebecca rushed into the room holding her phone. Ava, you're trending. What? Why? Rebecca turned the screen toward her. Someone had recorded Ava performing in the subway weeks before, singing her original song. The video had gone viral overnight. Thousands of comments praised her voice, called her the Subway Angel, NYC's hidden gem, and the voice that feels like home. Ava pressed a hand to her mouth. This can't be real. It is real, Rebecca said. And tomorrow morning, a producer from a major talk show wants you as a guest. 3 months later, Ava Thompson wasn't homeless anymore. She wasn't invisible. She had signed a small but promising music deal, released her first single, and performed live on television. Her story, the homeless musician from the New York subway, touched millions of hearts. But Ava never forgot the tunnels that once sheltered her. 1 year after her life changed, she returned to the same corner of the 42nd Street station, holding her old guitar. People stopped, recognizing her, whispering her name. She smiled, sat down on the cold tiles, and began to play. Not for fame, not for money, but for the girl she had once been. As she strummed the first chord, a little girl approached her with wide eyes and asked, "Are you really Ava Thompson?" Ava nodded. The girl whispered, "My mom says you're a star." Ava smiled gently.
I'm just someone who didn't stop playing. And as her music filled the subway one more time, Ava realized that the city that once pushed her to the edge had finally opened its arms and welcomed her home.